Hey everybody, my next guest is a rapper, actor, and former host of MTV RAPS and was instrumental in the evolution of hip-hop and one of the pioneers who helped change the game forever. Here he is to tell us all about it, the legendary T-Money.
What
T-Money, how's
up?
it going, man?
What up there? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's happening? How you doing? How's it
Good.
going there? Everything good?
Everything's going great, man. I'm so stoked to have you on the show. Like I said, I'm a Brentwood kid. Grew up watching your MTV Raps. Went to high
Right.
school, EPMD. Craig
That's
Mack
right.
was,
About to say, brothers from Brentwood, Long Island, EPMD. That's
yeah,
their
man.
hometown. That's right. Right.
Yes. All that happened right around the way. Um, but yeah, I mean, what you guys did, with hip hop from the WBAU days, which were instrumental. I'm rocking my PE shirt right now.
I see
Um,
that. I
yeah,
see
because I
that,
feel
brother.
like that was kind of the origin story behind them and behind you guys, and the
Right.
original concept and with Dre and all of that.
Right.
And you know, what I want to do is like kind of start with you is that time period, because you, like I said in the intro, you were so instrumental in hip hop. I mean, especially in the pioneering stages, just before it really popped, right? Because
Hmm.
there was the Crush Groove era, and then the Yo
Right.
MTV era, and the Yo MTV
Right.
Raps era to me is when it kind of really mainstreamed out. So just take me through when you first were going up, getting up in the scene, and getting into WBAU days. What would you say that the tone of hip hop was at that time period? How would you describe hip hop then, like mid '80s, early '80s?
It was a very exciting time. It was ever emerging. I mean, the music itself was changing every day. You know, there were rappers. I mean, we're talking the late '80s. I mean, there were record labels popping up. There were groups and because it was like at that time it was a big group energy at that time. It wasn't solo artists, but there were solo artists that did emerge from that. As you know, like like a lot of these artists, like Rakim came through, although that was a group, but he emerged as a solo artist, and
Right,
you know what I
right.
mean. So, but that era was different, man. Everybody was different. Everybody had a different vibe. That's why when me and Dre came out with original concept, we were actually looking to do something totally different. I mean, when we did Knowledge Man, we did a lot of records that didn't even have a lot of vocals on them.
Yeah,
Like Pump That Bass and Can You Feel It? We were DJs by trade, right?
right,
So
right.
we DJed our whole career, and that was the origins of us. We were actually like Daft Punk, but we
Right.
actually showed our face, what I
Yeah,
mean? So
yeah, you
so
didn't have like a big mask on something.
no,
Yeah.
no, everybody knew who we were, you know what I mean? So it was
Right.
so the energy was cool, so like and so me and Jay started DJing. We were local guys who wanted to actually make some noise, because there were other DJs around. There were a lot of crews back then. With everybody just wanted when they wanted to do the music thing, they started DJing first. Because
Right, right.
the DJ's always been the focal point of this whole thing. Anyway,
Right,
later
yeah.
on it became the rapper, but the DJ was the thing. So if you were a DJ, you became popular in your neighborhood, and you became coveted, and people hired you to do things, and you got the party started, and it was a vibe, And
Yeah.
you walk around when you're young, you can stick your chest out a little bit. I got a DJ, it's not even just about you DJing. You know what I mean, Donnie? It was about the fact that you had a crew of people that were cool with you, and then like your friends hung out, and then let's not dismiss the fact that chicks were cool with you. I
Right,
mean, right?
yeah.
So it was a thing. Like myself personally, I had it from both ends because I played sports in high school.
Right, right.
And I was pretty good. I played football. Football was my main thing, right?
Right, yeah.
So I kind of had that energy anyway. Then I was cool with everybody in the street because I was a street guy. You know what I mean? So I was cool with everybody. You
Yeah.
know, and people will say this. Oh, T Money, you from Long Island? How tough are your streets? Well, listen, when you're 18 and you're from an area, that's your area. You know, you're not comparing it to
Yeah.
Queens or Manhattan or Brooklyn or Bronx. My area was just as wild and crazy. You know what I mean? So, but
Yep.
with that being said, I was cool with the street guys, and then we started DJing, and DJing took us to new heights. And we carried on with that energy through high school, and when we went to college, we were still DJs, and then
Yeah.
we started DJing clubs in the city when we went to college, and that
So,
opened the doors up for us to do a lot of things. So.
yeah. So yeah, like you said, you were, a football player in high school, star player, confidence through the roof, getting all the girls, and then you on a DJ on top of that, and helped kind of, like back then with the 808s and all that stuff was popping, so you kind of were getting ahead on the curve on that too, like with the bass sounds and kind of that the music and the like you said, the instrumental that became kind of the template for a lot of the sound, especially popping in New York and Long Island, right? So how
Yeah,
did that come to be? That was just experimental and just doing your thing.
yeah. Well, me and Dre, which was probably my biggest regret. I told him that on the phone last week. I said, I know we did your MTV RAPS, so I think my biggest regret is that me and you, I'm talking to Dre now.
Right,
Me and
right,
you didn't continue producing music, because me and Dre were on the cusp of actually being like great producers. Having a great producing team like a Tone and Polk,
right,
like a
right,
Cool and Dre. We were on that tip because we were Def Jam artists, but our album didn't do well out the box. Although we had folk classics like Knowledge Me and Can You Feel It and Pump
right,
That Bass. Pump That Bass, which was sampled by so many people, right?
right.
But
Yeah,
our production skills were getting noticed by Def Jam and other labels, and we would do remixes. We would work with the labels to do certain remixes. We did Young MC. We did a remix for Slick Rick. We did a bunch of. We started doing a lot of production. So,
right. Yeah,
and in the midst of all this, the Beasties asked Dre to DJ for them. So that kind of slowed down our production side,
right, right,
right?
right,
Because we would work together. Then I would go out on the road with the Beasties. I even road managed them for a couple of shows, which was a whole nother book. I could put a book together on just that alone.
just
you know,
just
that was something else, right? So,
yeah, yeah.
um, so with that being said, so when we finally got a chance to settle down and figure out what we were going to do production wise, MTV comes calling, right?
Right,
Peter Doherty called Dre and asked Dre to do a pilot for a quote unquote new show that they're putting together. He didn't divulge a lot of information. So we sat in a friend's barbershop out in Hempstead, right?
right. Yep.
And we shot a little pilot. He was really cool, right? And as the days progressed, I didn't think much of it. And then they wound up calling Dre for audition. So I was like, wow, that kind of bummed me out initially because I was like, well, we're not going to make records and Dre's going to go off and do MTV. And then I started thinking, well, maybe I'll just do production on my own.
Right, right,
But then I said, no, I'm going to follow the money, right? I'm going to follow the experience.
right. You got to ride the
So
hot hand. Yeah, yeah.
the hot hand. So I used to go everywhere Dre went, and we would DJ clubs in the city anyway, so I would be there. And I saw an opening to be a character on the show.
You get this?
No,
you following us?
I'm lost.
Dre, you follow this?
I'm right there with
Brother,
you.
do you know that the only true master of macaframilarical lyrical dropadonium is Cool E. Mobley? That's it.
I know E. Mobley.
You gotta ask E. Mobley from Holland.
So let me ask you a question.
You
Is that before you go butt naked streaking in the middle of Central Park?
Yeah, but fellas, brother, get over here.
No, it's not.
We'll be right back with Yo MTV RAPS, so stay tuned.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I was always there. Me and Ed became good friends, and Ted Demi.
Right.
it was just a team of people, right?
Right.
So Ted had an idea that maybe and Dre too. Everybody agreed upon it that I should read the mail as the Yo mailman. Because
Right.
at the time, I had a job working for FedEx too, right?
Right.
All during the time when I was working doing music, I kept a job because I always liked having money, right? Because
Right.
this business will have you twisted. Like, oh, you don't need money. Go out there and grind, grind, grind.
Right.
You grind. You grind till you have nothing, right? So, then I always had to try to keep some money going.
Yeah.
So I used to come to the set with my FedEx jacket
Right.
on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So so now we parlayed that energy into doing the Yo Mailman character.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's really cool. So I did it because we used to tape a week's worth of shows in one day.
Oh
So
wow. Yeah.
yeah,
So all
one of the
those
shows,
guests and everybody, that was all one. You just have all those guys lined up. Whoever's coming
yeah,
in.
definitely that was cool. If we didn't have a guest, we would just do you know I don't know, we do whatever we wanted to do at the time, but it
Yeah.
wasn't. We didn't always have a guest for every show, but
Right. Yeah.
but with
That's
that being said, though, Don, listen. So I did that, and I was like, well, I kind of like doing this. This was really cool, right?
right.
So I said, so when I went home that night, the first time I went home that night. I said, all right, Dre, see you later. So the next day, I came back to the set. I brought clothes with me. Now, keep in mind, these are just clothes, that I stole a jacket from my dad, right? I had jeans that didn't quite fit. I had platform shoes. I don't even know where I got these shoes. I think I had them when I was young.
Right.
I had a wig. I had glasses. I had an 8-track tape that had the Afro sticker on it, right?
Right.
I said, okay, so Dre and them are straight-laced, right? So they're playing this game straight-laced. In order for me to get in front of the camera, I have to make some sort of impact, right? Our show has to be a little bit different.
Right.
So I didn't even tell anybody. I went to the wardrobe person at the time, and I showed her all my clothes, and then she added a couple things, right? From the time period, because this is supposed to be the 70s, right? Man, listen to me. I had a cigarette in my hand, and I wrote on the back of the jacket in magic marker, right? The real Michael Jackson. And let me tell you something. I wish this moment was captured on film. No one knew I was coming out. I came from the dressing room with this outfit on, and I was like, "Hey, how you doing?" And I did this whole banter about, I'm the real Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson's a punk. You know what I mean? He's light skinned now. I'm not light skinned, but I'm one of the brothers. And I was smoking a cigarette, and Ed laughed so hard he fell out of the chair. So that's how I started my BJ career at MTV, and I would come on regularly doing characters and co-hosting. That's how I branded myself.
Yeah, man.
As being part of the show, which was amazing.
Right on.
Jump around, jump up and get down. Jump around, jump up and get down. Jump around, jump up and get down. Jump up and get down. Jump, everybody jump.
Yeah, man, that show was awesome. You were awesome on it. You were always kind of, like you said, like comic relief, and it was fun to be around. And then you would jump on the turntables and rock it a little bit. I just remember it being so impactful, man. Like, it moved a generation, and I feel like it changed the culture, not only in America but around the world. I think that show. I think your MTV Raps. I mean, there's so many variables you could say, but I feel like your MTV Raps almost single-handedly brought hip hop to mainstream levels. I feel like it touched a generation of kids, and
right.
I mean, how do you feel about the impact of just like with Yo MTV Raps? I mean, do you feel the same way, or?
It's amazing how so many years later, I still sit in here and discuss the impact of the show. And then what's so amazing is that a lot of people don't get it, Don. I can tell you, this without provocation. Your own TV raps brought hip hop to not only to mainstream America, they brought it to the world.
Yeah.
Because I mean, and rightfully so. And let's give credit to the vehicle it was on. MTV was worldwide,
Right.
but they couldn't just put anybody on that show that fit the suit. That wasn't ever going to work. I mean, they tried it a few years ago, and it didn't work at all.
Right. Yeah.
And it didn't work because those people aren't truly part of the culture like we were. Honestly, we caught lightning in a bottle and we wore it as a belt. You understand?
Yeah.
Because your own TV raps was so grandiose, and it touched so many people, right? Like you had just mentioned, that you came home from school and watched it.
Right. Yeah.
Because because MTV, a little backstory on that, MTV put it on as a trial run. They had Fab on, right? And Fab was doing well. Salute to the great Fab Five Freddy, by the way.
Yeah, man. Fab Five.
Join me, Fab Five Freddy, as I talk to the toughest rappers and show the freshest videos.
And speaking of being part of the culture itself,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Fab, he gets a lot of props for that, and that in itself, he's been a great representative of the culture. But when they put You on TV Raps Today on, which started us three, right?
Right.
They didn't know if it was going to work. They had no idea. So they put it on as a tester. It did well, and for whatever reason, they were looking to sabotage it. From my history of understanding this, they're looking to sabotage it in a sense, like, oh, it doesn't work. Let's see if we can oversaturate it and see what happens with it.
Right.
That speaks to truly testing it, seeing if it really happens, and if it happens, okay. If it don't, hey,
So they were setting up for failure.
Right, setting us up for failure. But what it did, it backfired, because now they put it on in the morning and in the afternoon.
Right. Yeah.
And how many people have told myself, Ed and Dré, that they couldn't wait to run home and watch the show.
Yeah.
Because Your Own TV Raps was, to quote Rakim, was the CNN of hip hop at that time.
Yeah, man.
There wasn't internet. There wasn't cell phones with cameras. There wasn't any of that.
Right.
So you had, in order for you to see what Luke was doing in Miami, what Dr. Dré and NWA were doing in the West Coast, to see what Sade, remember Sade from Atlanta before T.I., before Outkast, before Big Mob, it was Sade, right?
Yeah.
In order to see these people, you had to watch. You couldn't watch any other video channel because the other video channels were out of state.
Right.
If you watch Ralph, and salute to Ralph McDaniels, by the way, I had him on my my podcast, the T Money podcast, and I had him on my show.
Nice.
But that's a sidebar. But we talked. We had a lot of conversation. We talked, and he expressed some things to me that I never even knew. But with that being said,
right. Well, like wars between the two channels or something.
It would no. See, and people always wanted that to happen,
right? Yeah.
And it's funny. Like everybody looks at it like, okay, Ralph. Ralph to many people is he's a god to many people.
Yeah,
right? And deservingly so, because Ralph put so many people on from the tri-state area.
Right. Yeah.
Who would have never had the opportunity to be successful. He played that video. He did concerts. Ralph gets all my respect whatsoever.
Yeah.
Right? Every ounce of it. Right.
Right. Yeah.
But and then people make it their business to go, okay, let's put against Video Music Box. Let's do and honestly, I didn't know what Ralph's take was on this for many years. And Ralph was like, I never had that energy. So he loves and respects us. As a matter of fact, our success generated money for him because after and during the time he was doing Video Music Box, he started doing videos. And guess where the videos were played? On our show.
Right, yeah. Exactly, yes. Yeah,
right. So everything worked hand in hand. But with that being said, when the song initially was on Ralph's network, right, and Video Music Box, it went into tri-state, and that's as far as it went. When it was on our show, the world saw it.
Right. Yeah.
And the culture, it developed a whole new platform because now it's a worldwide thing. And I'm talking everything from the way you wore your clothes, the money that the culture generated. I mean, honestly, you can see, the culture went from making videos for $1,500 to $1.5 million.
Yeah.
Right.
Truth.
It helped elect a president.
As optimistic as I am, I still can't believe it. I feel like I'm in the future. First iPods, now this.
Yeah, definitely.
Matter of fact, truth be told, they helped elect 2 presidents, Clinton and Obama.
Right. Yeah.
So
side to side, and say yeah. Stop scream.
Hip hop culture changes the way people think. It's changed the way people even dress, how they spend their money, what they spend their money on, what they watch, what they view, how, the immediacy of this music, how it has evolved.
Even language, when my grandma's saying, "Hey, you got that bling bling," stuff like that. You know what I mean?
When your grandma says bling bling, and she's speaking colloquialisms that hip hop creates,
right? Yeah,
that everybody is entwined in this energy, right?
Yeah,
that your culture, and I say your culture when because I have adopted hip hop culture as my culture,
right? Yeah,
that's how I refer to it. But that culture is what is spawning this,
right?
Now I'm not saying that hip hop, and I want to be really clear about this because. True school cats, aka old school cats, take offense sometimes to you saying that you're the savior of the culture, or you did this for Yeah, but we what I'm stating is a fact,
right?
But I will never try to take away the fact that we didn't start hip hop culture,
right?
We stopped hip hop music, graffiti art, breakdancing, fashion. We didn't start that,
right?
Because we're just a product of that. We're babies of that. We were birth of that culture.
Right.
I remember wearing my Playboys and my British Walkers and my Lee jeans and my name belt and my Kango and my Cazelli.
Yeah, I like the Gazelles, the BKs. Yeah,
right. I remember listening to Spoonie G and the Fat Bat Band when they came out with King Tim III. And I remember when New York radio was no hip hop stations when you had to listen to like pop stations to get hip hop records, or you might maybe hear one,
right, yeah,
or you got to go down the dial and flip the channel and find like a station called Super 16 here in New York, you can listen. So, or you would listen to BAU,
right, exactly, yeah,
which was its own like Video Music Box / MTV RAPS on the radio side, because there was no competition in college radio like them. Nothing at all, right?
Yeah.
And that's a whole nother conversation too. But
right,
my point is, MTV RAPS became global, and it moved the needle, and it was playing in a field when there was no competition whatsoever, and it took hip hop to a level that, to this day, it's unmeasured. That's why people look at it and don't understand it. They know it was popular. They know it did so much, but they really don't understand the effect of it.
Right, because
what it did to make the culture what it is today. I mean, it single-handedly changed the whole face of this game. It changed it single-handedly. I mean, before MTV RAPS, the music was regional.
Right. Yeah.
They had video programs. I remember having a list of video shows in different cities. Every show was regional.
So like, was Video Music Box, did that come out before Yo?
Oh, of course, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Right. So that was
Music Box was out way before Yo on TV Raps. And
right.
There's a story there's a story behind that whole thing too that Ralph mentioned in regards to Ted. Because Ted Demi, one of the founding fathers of Your MTV Raps, and Ralph McDaniels were really cool, really cool. And Ralph went on to tell a story on my podcast that Ted took what Ralph was doing to create Your MTV Raps.
Right.
I never even heard that before. But with that being said, thank you very much, Ralph, and thank you, Ted.
Yeah.
Without that, I wouldn't be sitting here right now talking to you.
Right.
So,
big boombox and it shows videos. It was really a video mixtape in the beginning.
the impact of Yo was immense. And it just completely changed the face of this music, and the culture itself. And honestly, people don't really understand it. They don't look at it in that way. They look at there are so many other elements of changing the music, record labels and this, that, and the third. But it changed how you move.
I think a lot of kids that weren't there then in that era, like kids coming up now or whatever,
right.
Hip hop has always been the culture. They weren't there for it to see it all kind of evolve, right? And and they don't understand, like, even when you explain it to them, like the impact of the MTV Raps or where the origins of hip hop this, because it's so sensational now. It's so huge, but it all started in the Bronx, and and with nothing to become what it is now. To me, always kind of blows my mind of how this kind of hip hop culture and movement has started in this borough of the Bronx to worldwide. When you see kids in Japan, dressed hip hop, fashion and breakdancing and and all that, or Australia or whatever, or when there's breakdancing in the Olympics.
Right.
It's just nuts, man. It's like
how about that?
Yeah.
It was a horrible attempt, though, if I have to say so. But it made the Olympics. It was considered, and they chose it, and it actually happened, and that in itself that's a testament to the culture itself, right?
Yeah.
So and all I can do with that, all I can do is harken back to my time at the channel.
Yeah.
I look at now. Keep this in mind, and I'm not saying this too. I want to be clear on this. I'm not saying. Say for instance, if you took Your MTV Raps out of this equation, right?
Right.
Hip hop would have kept growing because it was like a stone. It was just it was rolling. It was gathering moss as it rolled up.
Right.
Nothing was going to stop that train.
Right.
But it's sort of like, at some point when you start your barbecue, you click on, and you put your coals in, and you put a match in, right? So the match lights your coals, right, Don?
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But if you put that lighter fluid on it, boom, right?
Right. Then
now all the coals are burning. Your MTV Raps was that lighter fluid, man.
Yeah. That's a great way to put it.
That's what I'm saying. The coals were there, the fire was there, but we were the lighter fluid,
True indeed, man. And you guys were definitely the lighter fluid, that got it lit, man. And you were the right guys at the right time. Like you said, that combination of the three of you, I know you and Dré go back to Westbury and, childhood, from from the Sandbox and
Sandbox, right.
Yeah, and Ed Lover, kind of got in there, and he's got that personality, and you guys just all gelled, and I can't explain it. Like when I was getting ready for you today, I was watching You Down with MTV,
yeah, you know me,
and I was getting like goosebumps all over and everything, because I was like, God, man, what a great time that was, of that era. Like it almost had a sense of the calm before the storm. Like it was almost just before it took off mega. It was such a great time period.
I always tell Dre and Ed, I say we became successful about 10 years too early. You know,
Yeah.
on TV rap. But but with that being said, it's kind of a catch-22. If we would have did it 10 years later, the show may not have had the same impact. You
Right.
understand? So it's kind of weird. But yeah, yeah, me and Dre go back to the sandbox, man. I mean, I've known Dre since 5th grade,
Yeah,
you know,
man.
Miss Bundy's class, you know. We became friends because in 5th grade you had to, there was a there was a part of the class during the school year where you had to get to know your classmates, you
Right,
know.
right.
So you had to pick they picked a classmate for you, and you had to buy them a gift and exchange gifts.
That's nice, yeah.
So that's how me and Dre met.
What did he
You
get
know,
you? Or what'd you get him?
I don't remember what he gave me, but I gave him a toy, like a toy car, the kind that you had to glue together and
Oh
piece
yeah,
together.
yeah. Nice.
Yeah, I don't remember him getting me anything. He might not have got me anything. I don't know. What the hell I know. I don't know. And I met Ed through Ted Demi. Ed and Ted were childhood friends.
Yeah,
And
man. See, so
and
it's like coming up at the right time too. Like, cause you and Dre were together pretty much through it all. Like even the BAU together.
yes, BAU that's another incredible, and what's so funny is I've been speaking to people in regards to doing documentaries on these two things, Your Own
Yeah,
TV Raps and BAU.
yeah.
BAU in itself, WBAU in itself, there's such a story there. It's an inconspicuous little radio station right in the heart of Adelphi University. You know, unassuming, right?
Yeah.
And Public Enemy, the components of Public Enemy: Chuck D, Hank Shockley, Keith Shockley. Salute to Keith.
Yeah. Salute.
Flavor Flav. Myself, Harry Allen, the great Harry Allen.
Wow. Yeah.
Who else can I? Busta Rhymes and
Buster
Leader of
was
the New
in.
School.
Yeah.
I mean, I can go on with their Run DMC were regular guests on the radio station through myself,
Wow.
through Mr. Bill Stephanie, through and through everybody, man.
That's
through it
crazy.
all. So it just got to be really, really crazy. Wild Man Steve. Don't forget Wild Man Steve.
Oh yeah, yeah.
3rd floor is where the radio station used to be. And we had spent nights and nights from 2 to like 6 in the morning.
Yeah, so those 3 eras.
You were part of major eras of hip hop history, and the BAU thing I don't think gets enough. I think if you're a hip hop head, it gets a lot of love. But
Yeah.
if you don't know, like people that don't know, they really should. I wish they did make a documentary about BAU and your guys' era there, because what you guys did for hip hop and some of the interviews you guys did then, the music you were playing then, you had the in with Def Jam at the time, so you had a lot of those artists coming through.
But let me tell you, let me give you the backstory though, Don. You ready for this?
Yeah, yeah.
So not only BAU, obviously, it became a hub because obviously there were no other radio stations at the time. I mean, later on you had Stretch and Bobbito, you had Mr. And then you had Mr. Magic.
Right.
But as far as Long Island was concerned, you didn't have anything out here,
Right,
like that whatsoever. That just inconceivable. RH with Jeff Frost, they did a little something, but they would, that's sort of like the Mets and Yankees. The Yankees are the big brother, and the Mets are the little.
right.
So sorry, all you Met fans, my bad.
Hey, I always saw it that way too. It's funny. Yeah,
it's all good. But so the major labels listen to BAU, and they listen for new talent. Russell and Rick Rubin readily listened to that station. That's how me and Dre got our deal.
Right. Yeah,
that's how they picked Chuck D. Chuck D avoided Rick Rubin for 2 years. He didn't want to sign.
Yeah.
He didn't want to deal. He didn't want to deal. More importantly, he wasn't gonna. And then when he decided to sign, he was like, "Well, I'm not signing by myself. I have to have Flavor with me.
Right. Yeah, he fought for Flavor. Yeah.
And Def Jam didn't want Flavor. He was like, "What are you crazy? You know, I gotta do. If I don't do it with Flavor, I'm not doing it." So
I love
he hung
that,
them
man.
over the barrel. They did that. You know, leaders got their deal. I think they were on Elektra. You know,
Right.
I mean, you know, everybody started getting deals, and Bill Stephanie went to be president of Def Jam Records.
Yeah.
You know, Hank and Keith and Eric Sadler, they became the Bomb Squad, producing DVD and New
Crazy.
Edition and all these people. Like, you know, so the tentacles of that radio station, you know, were immense. I mean, and there's so many people, and forgive me, you know, Geechee Dan, don't forget me, Geechee. I mean, forgive me, Geechee. I know you listening to this, and Geechee Dan, my man, boy. I used to, Mikey D, the great Mikey D.
Yeah.
Yeah. So many people came from this place, man, and so many people visited. You know, like I said, Run DMC. I think Dr. Dré still has LL Cool J's Gazelles.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, LL Cool J left his glasses up there. I think Dré still has them.
That's
you know,
awesome.
Unless he lost them in the fire. Dré had a fire in his house. He might have lost them in the fire.
Hope.
Yeah, but that whole era was. And then you know what was so funny? This just gets deep. Me and Dré were fresh out of high school. You know, local colleges, right? 'Cause I went to New York Tech. He went to Adelphi, right?
Right.
Because I didn't want to go away to school, even though I wanted to play sports. Because I wanted to do this music thing. Dré didn't go to Cornell, although he had a scholarship to Cornell.
Wow.
He didn't go there. He stayed local because he wanted to do music.
Right. Yeah.
So we first went to meet Keith, Chuck, and Hank at this place called 510. I'm not sure if you're familiar with what 510 is. 510 is an office building that that Spectrum City, aka Public Enemy, right?
Right.
In Hempstead, right on South Franklin Street. Dr.
Okay.
Gann's a dentist. So at certain parts of the day, like later in the evening, Keith and them would go in there. They would do music production. You know, they had a DJ in there by the name of EJ the DJ. He had all his records in there. Keith and them had their records in there.
Right.
It was like a hub for creative energy, right? They would have. This is where they brought Ice Cube when he first came here to produce America's Most Wanted.
Oh, okay.
Like, this is where Chuck D made the logo that you're wearing on your chest.
Right. Yeah.
You know who that person is there in the gun site?
Is that LL? Who is that?
No,
I know it's somebody.
That's Earl. That's Earl.
Oh, yeah.
That's Earl LL's man. They used to come on with the radio and do like this. That's
Yeah.
Public Enemy's logo was also drawn by a graphic design student, the group leader Chuck D. It embodies the powerfully activist views of the band with military-styled lettering and crosshairs views on a figure. It's often mistaken for a cop, but it was actually a cutout of LL Cool J producer E. Love. Chuck's rough mock-up was cleaned up by Eric Hayes, art director for the first album, Yo, Bum Rush the Show.
That's awesome.
And I watched Chuck make that, sitting at his desk because he's a graphic.
So you were there when he drew that? Right here?
Well, the gun site.
Yeah.
Not that part, the gun site.
Right.
Absolutely.
That's awesome,
so,
man.
mean, like, these are some of the things like that need to be digitized and put in a documentary form. There's so much great energy that came from what we then, we became, from this whole thing, we became friends. And so now me and Dré leaves this place like, yo, they're so awesome. They're awesome, right?
Yeah.
They have equipment. They're making music. I'm like, oh no. So we had to step our game up. So what we did was we bought a Roland 808. We bought, a couple of Kai keyboards and stuff like that. And we already had playing turntables and speakers. And so we had a makeshift studio in Dré in his basement, right? And we emulated Chuck D and them to a degree. They became our heroes, So
damn,
it was interesting. And that's how we would create the Miami bass sound on the 808.
Right.
After doing it. Right.
So in the BAU days, when all this is popping off and you got all these guys that have become hip hop legends ultimately, did you feel that you were onto something early on? Like, did you say, you know what, this is we're doing something special here, or was it just like, you didn't realize it then?
Well, because you never do. Somebody asked me that about your MTV Raps. Did you realize that you were so groundbreaking, and because you never know.
Right.
You never
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
that. You don't have the forethought,
Right. Right.
to think that you're doing something so amazing, but it feels good.
Right.
But you're enjoying yourself. You're making some sort of impact that people like it.
Right. Right.
But you don't know what kind of social, economic, and cultural impact you're going to be making. You can't possibly know that, until you have some sort of reflection later on and say, "Oh, this is what happened. This is how it grew from here." You ever look at an old picture of yourself, or even an old picture of somebody, then you see a relatively new picture.
Right. Right.
Or if you look at, this is primary example. You haven't seen this person since high school, right?
Right.
So now you see him now.
Right.
In today's energy, and you're like, wow, you've grown so much. That's kind of the same thing,
Right.
like you don't think about it, and then later on you go, oh wow, we did so much.
Right. Yeah.
Our work speaks for itself.
Right on.
And I think that a lot of people don't really understand, because people look at it like, okay, these guys, they hosted a video show, and how, and then you have to explain to them how we made an impact. I can tell you, it's simply just like this. Don, you ready?
Yeah.
MTV, Viacom at the time, they had us on the show. They had us hosting it, but the creators of the show, the staff, no one understood what music to play. Acquisitions did not know what videos to keep and what not to keep.
Right. Right.
They threw NWA's Straight Outta Compton in the garbage. It was, as a matter of fact, no, it wasn't in the garbage. It was in a do not play file.
Wow.
Because they had no idea what to play.
Right. Yeah.
We literally, there were program sheets that we had to fill out, and every week we would fill out the program sheets on what videos should be played.
Right.
And we submit those sheets to production.
Right.
And that's how we created that show. So when people say that, we didn't change the culture, we changed the culture right there with a pen and a piece of paper.
So what happened to ruthless niggas for life and all that? What's up? Yellow, what's up? Ren, what's the deal?
Man, we chicken, man. I want to eat some chicken.
You hungry too? Okay, now we're talking. You fronting on me. Don't you ever front on me, easy, all right? KFC.
Dude.
Because now your video that wasn't getting played, the world saw it when I put your video right there.
Yep, exactly.
When I put Brand New Funk by Will Smith and Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, right?
Right.
That video, the world sees that video, not just people in Philly.
Right. Yeah.
You understand? So, it generates you money, it generates you popularity, it helps you do shows, you come to visit MTV. All that happens like a snowball effect.
Yep. You guys launched careers,
bro.
And legends.
Careers. Legendary artists.
Yeah, man.
So, and that in itself is the story. These are three guys. It's just three guys that were part of the culture, that loved the culture. The hip hop culture was here, but we showed the world the culture. We showed it. Say, look.
I would slap you in your mouth so hard, blood would trickle down.
I remember one day we were on the set, and someone said that your MTV Raps is premiering in Japan. It's opening in Japan in about
that's
20
crazy.
minutes. Yeah. That's when I realized, I was like, oh, come on, man.
That it transcends all that stuff. It's
yeah,
crazy.
Without question,
Yeah. What I love is that it was the right guys at the right time, because had it been, corporate MTV, then NWA would have stayed in the not playlist. You know what I'm saying? So it's the fact that they had real hip hop guys doing the show. I think also people know when it's real and when it's not real. And I
Right.
think you guys being real and being fun and
Right.
playful and all that kind of stuff, you know, the Ed Lover dance and all that.
Right.
And then you reading the mail and with the outfits and Dre,
Right.
you know, always being chill and he's fun too. Like all of you guys brought it to another level that had MTV had like, you know, I remember they had the Headbangers Ball back in the
Right.
day, and they had Adam Curry with you know,
Right.
and he had long hair, but he wasn't really a heavy metal guy, and people saw
Mhm.
right through it. You know,
Right.
I think the fact that you guys were real
Mhm.
helped the genre on so many levels that even MTV probably didn't even understand at the time.
No, they had no clue.
Yeah.
They really didn't know. I mean, they were fortunate enough to have it take off, you know, and become very successful, but they didn't know why. They didn't understand the culture, you know, not initially.
Right.
I mean, when they later on during our success, they hired people to work on the show that were young and they understood it.
Right.
You know,
Right.
but initially that was not the case. You know, but yeah, this was just a phenomenal ride, man. I'm telling you. You know, and the Ed Lover dance is my creation, by the way.
Oh, no
You
way.
know? Yeah. Well, you know, Ed was showing me the dance, and I think he did it on one show. And I told him, I said, man, you got to do that every week. And he was like, really? I said, yes, bro. You got to do that's the joint right there. You got to do that every week. And he was like, bet. And then we made a whole day of it. You know, he would warm up,
Yeah.
you know, get it ready. He had everybody doing. He did the Ed Lover dance with James Brown.
Yeah,
Classic.
man, dude.
James was on the show with us, man. James Brown was, God bless him. He was official, you know.
When I lived in Atlanta. I worked with the Atlanta Falcons for a little bit, and
Okay, cool.
we just opened up Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and Ed Lover. I knew, you know, YZ, you know, so YZ was
okay.
from Jersey. He was around the way in Atlanta, and he's like, "Yo, you know, Ed Lover would love to get a tour of the building." So I said, "Cool." So then Ed said that he would do a sketch with me, right? Because I was doing these videos.
Cool.
So I actually did the Ed Lover dance with Ed in front of Ed Lover. So I owe it all to you.
I love it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so
cool,
I'll put that clip in this video too, just this people
that'd
to
be
see.
that'd be dope. That'd be super dope, bro.
Yeah.
Man.
Do the Ed Lover dance and show you how I do it.
You don't do the Ed Lover dance?
Dude, I do a dope Ed Lover dance.
Why not?
So it's like.
That was interesting. It's good. You're really talented. You are extremely talented guy.
But yeah, so it was definitely cool, and like I said, you guys, so much hip hop history came through there. Whether it was NWA, you had like Tupac, you know, so many legends came through there. Are there any like memorable moments of like guest wise that came through there that were like iconic moments for you?
Well, yeah, like I said, James
Brown. Yeah, that's huge.
I mean, that Bill Cosby, you know, this is all before, you know, he had issues. You know what I mean? Mel Gibson, before he had issues, you know.
Right.
Lou Gossett came through. We didn't film Lou Gossett, but he came and hung out with us.
That's cool. Yeah.
Oh, Shaq. I love the Shaq episode. Shaq was straight out of college, fresh out.
Wow.
You know? And he came and did a week with us, you know? And that was pretty fun. You know, some of the guests were just amazing, you know. Queen Latifah, of course, Barry J. Blige, of course, you know. KRS-One, of course, you know.
Yeah.
The Fugees, you know.
I checked it out, I got the Ed Lover, Dr. Dré, and Team Money rocking viciously with the refugees. We coming down.
When they were young, you know.
Yeah, that's
young
legends,
Fugees.
man. It's so.
I mean, it's a lot of people, man. I mean, we're talking. I mean, Redman, MC Hammer, Method Man, Nas.
Yeah.
You know, and Biggie. Biggie came on twice. Biggie was on twice. You know, and all the NWA stuff we shot. We went to Cali and You know?
Yeah, that famous moment where Ed Lover puts his kind of hand in Easy's face.
Yeah. You know, so fun. You know, so funny. Like you gotta let Ed tell you that story. I was standing right there, and I didn't think nothing of it. But everybody
Right.
now makes a big deal out of it. Like that was at the swap meet too. It was at the swap meet.
Yeah,
And I think somebody said, "Oh, because Easy pulled him to the side and was talking in the end." I think somebody was asking, "So what did he say to you?" And I think Ed said he didn't say anything. Like, why are you making such a big deal out of it?
Right.
Yeah, it was cool.
But Yo was on top of the world. I mean, Who's the Man? The movie came out. So many cameos in that film.
Yeah, man. I remember. You know what stands out to me, that it wasn't anything that was filmed. Actually, it was. We were shooting. We were shooting that day, and I think we were on break. But all of us were in this van. It was a production van. I'm not too sure who else was in the van, because right now, you know, your memory's foggy. But I can tell you without provocation, you know, and in total honesty, that I was left in the van with Pac.
Right. Yeah.
And you know, I was talking to him. I said, "Yo, man, you're an amazing artist, you know, and you've always been really cool, you know what I mean? And I salute you." And he was like, "Thanks, bro." And then he pulled out, you know, I told him, "You're gonna be a big star."
Right. Right.
And he said, he said, "Damn, how you know that?" I said, "Because I know." You know what I'm saying? He pulled out a piece of paper, and then he stopped talking to me, and he just started writing. And I didn't want to disturb him.
Right. Yeah.
It looked like he was into his craft, so I got out of the van and left. That's the last time I actually saw him.
So you don't know what he was writing?
I'm sorry. I take that back. That's the last time I spoke to him. I saw him after that.
Right.
I didn't really speak to him. Yeah.
And so where was Pac around that time? Was he like Brenda has a baby? Was out yet?
He was on Interscope.
Okay, so he's just starting.
He wasn't with Suge. No, he wasn't with Suge and all that drama then.
Right. He's just starting to pop.
When I saw him the second time, he was with him then, but not then. Then he just came out. I think he might not even had a deal yet. He might have been with Digital still.
Right. Yeah.
No question.
That's crazy, man.
Oh, the Humpty Dance! You started that new movie Juice, right?
Yeah. So when he came on the show, he just got his deal with Interscope, you know, when he cursed out the brothers that produced them.
And Ed was like putting his hand over his mouth and all that.
Yeah, he had to, man. It was crazy.
Check this out. They fired me, but did it in a roundabout punk snitch way. So I caught them on the streets and beat they behinds. You know what I'm saying?
Okay,
like I was a menace to these brothers, and it ain't over. I still got more than about to jump to the TV. Don't jump to the TV. Don't jump to the TV. Don't jump to the TV.
Don't number 6 video.
He
saved him. Yeah, from probably a lawsuit.
He saved him from more trouble, but they still got the defense called Viacom because they wanted a copy of the video. You know,
right?
The court wanted a copy of the video.
Right.
That the whole thing.
Damn, yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And you were also in Juice with Pac too, right? You had a scene in there.
I didn't. Well, none of us spoke. We were standing on the terrace. There was a club in New York City called The Building.
Right.
And it was a really popular club. And that's where they shot the DJ scenes for Juice.
Yeah. Was EPMD in that scene with you? I forget.
EPMD wasn't in the scene with me. It was me, Ed Dré. I think Red Alert. If you watch the movie, you'll see it.
I gotta watch. I haven't seen Juice in a minute. I love that movie. It's a classic.
And Latifah was up there. There's a couple of people.
Nice. I'm gonna check. I'll play the clip. If I find it, it's gonna happen right now. We'll see it in the edit right now.
No question. Yeah, put it in, man. That'll be cool.
And the winner is GQ.
when you look at and you see, like you talked about, hip hop in Japan and all over the world, and you see Kendrick in the Super Bowl, and you see, breakdancing in the Olympics, and how far hip hop has come. How do you feel about, like, because you were definitely a part of the wave to the evolution of like, because who would have ever dreamt it before MTV Raps and all of that? Whoever would have dreamt? I mean, things were popping off early on, like, Crush Groove and movies and things, Break In and all that was happening. So, like you said, the ball was rolling. But did you ever think that it would become what it is today? Like, literally part of the fabric of our culture?
No, I've never been accused of being that clairvoyant. I have no, I wouldn't even thought that. But what's interesting that you brought up. You brought up Crush Groove and that time period.
Sheila E. Run DMC. The Fat Boys.
Yeah, the Fat Boys.
And Curtis Blow.
You knew something was good about the culture. You knew the culture had elements that, because keep in mind, hip hop, like punk rock to a degree, was always like underground.
Right. Yeah.
And because when we were young, I mean, when me and Dre were young, like we used to DJ clubs, and the promoters for the clubs, even the club owners, or if we did a college or something, they didn't want to even hear hip hop when we played. They told us not to play Run DMC. They told us don't play Spoonie G, don't play Curtis Blow, don't play that. We don't want to hear that. We want to hear, we want to hear house music.
Like
we want to hear Colonel Labor.
Yeah.
We want to hear Gwen Guthrie. We want to hear Cheryl Lynn. We used to look at them like, "What, are you kidding me?"
Right.
But those were the times. So when it started getting a little buzz, when it started getting a little notoriety, we were just like, we were just like, ooh, we could finally breathe a little bit. Blair Underwood's playing, a prominent role in a hip hop classic.
Yeah.
You have these, you have Wild Style. You sort of, and then you see Breaking. You know what I mean? And you were like, oh, they're making movies of it, but it still didn't adhere to, what the culture is really about.
Right.
It still didn't adhere to people who didn't really want to listen to it. There was so many. It was still a huge majority of people that didn't gravitate to the culture itself. That just made us happy.
Right. Yeah.
Wild Style was like, oh, Wild Style, right?
Yeah, it's cool.
Crush Groove. You're like, yo, this is what's up, hip hop, right? So we were happy to see that, but it's not getting out of this box yet.
Right.
It's still growing. The Fresh Fest happened. Packed arenas, right?
Right.
The Raising Hell tour happened.
Yep.
Everybody loved Run DMC. Run DMC by far, Run DMC is in my top 3 groups of all time.
Right on.
I have top 5, but the Run DMC is in my top 3 of all time. And they did so much on their end to shift the culture is unreal. And where their documentary is, I have no idea.
I'm waiting for their documentary and their biopic and everything.
All that, bro. Run DMC. I mean, NWA had a biopic. Where's Runs?
Right, exactly. And because they kind of put it on the map early on.
I got stories, man. I was on tour with them, in a couple of cities, and Run DMC was something amazing to me. I mean, I watched rock and roll hip hop for the first time, and I'm not saying rock and roll hip hop in the sense that because Run DMC did records with rock and roll artists. I'm saying rock and roll from a standpoint of being popular.
They were like rock stars.
They were rock stars, bro.
Right.
Are you kidding me? They were. I mean, I used to be in awe. Like, really, I never wanted to look at Joey and D like a little kid.
Right.
But at the back of my mind, I was like, because I used to talk to Jay. I used to be like, this is crazy right here. They were rocks. They were on tour. They were getting paid. They had They had roadies.
They had
huge stage presence. They were everything. You just sit down and you speak to Chuck D, he'll tell you how amazing to him Run DMC were. How inspirational they were to us. They came right from Queens. They were right, 10 minutes away from where we live, right?
Yeah.
So it was amazing to watch them. So, but my point that I'm making is that even with all that banging, right? Even all that energy, hip hop was still in this box.
Right.
Because everybody else didn't catch up yet.
Right.
Overseas didn't catch up yet. The West Coast was still listening to Parliament Funkadelic,
Right. Yeah.
And R&B groups, Everybody didn't catch up yet. Run DMC, Houdini, Beasties, all this stuff is still in New York vibe of hip hop culture. It's Melly Mel and them, everybody from the Bronx is still New York. It's still considered a New York thing.
Right.
Pockets across the country don't even have rappers. There was no Detroit rappers.
Right. Yeah. Other regions weren't doing it yet.
There was no Seattle rappers. That was unheard of. Miami might have had a sound, but it was all bass music. It was all this, techno, high energy. It was not that. It was not this. So my thing is, it was still in this box. Everything that you're talking about was grandiose and happy. It was incredible to us. You know why it was so incredible to us? Because we were from that.
Right.
And we seen it blossom. It's sort of like the bubble just got bigger.
Exactly.
It wasn't like the bubble was here now. The bubble was up here now. So, but we're still in a bubble.
Right.
Until Yo MTV RAPS came out.
And then it just, like you said, you threw the gasoline on the fire and it was poof.
Yeah, because somebody in Houston, right? Somebody in Houston, Texas can watch episodes of this show and go, Ma, I want those pants.
Right.
Somebody told me in Canada, watching Yo MTV RAPS, there was a place there was a guy who opened a store that sold hip hop gear. So he would go back and forth to New York and get the gear.
Right.
To the store. Now he has a store in Canada where all the people who like our show go to the place and get this gear. So now it's formulating the culture. Now the music follows suit.
Right.
Now radio follows suit. This is what the show did, man. I'm not making this up.
Yeah. No.
So it brought all these elements. It's sort of like if you're playing some kind of board game. Okay, and I'm putting this piece here, piece this. Like I'm putting all this here. Now this region has it. Now this like you ever see like those old war movies where they have the map on the table and they put in
right, yeah, all the salt pepper shaker or whatever. And
the base is here. It's the same energy, It's like this is what the base is. Now over here, I'm building a hip hop coalition here, and over here it's because of what the show was able to show you. If you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah. It was opened it up.
What the show was able to. There's a friend of mine, right, from overseas, right. Him and his wife come to see me regular. They come to see Fab too, but they come to see me, right.
Right.
And when I first met him, you know what he did? He sent me DVDs of my show, tons of DVDs of episodes of my show, because you know why? He videotaped them as a kid.
Wow.
So now he can watch them. So now he can literally pause it and go, oh, I like those sneakers. Oh, I like the fact that he's wearing a starter outfit with the tags on.
Yeah.
I like Mecca clothing. I like cross colors clothing. I like.
So I like
Carl Canai. I like Lee.
Yeah, Lee jeans, man. I used to rock all the colors.
Right.
Yeah, you guys like set the stage. People were emulating you guys.
Right.
And it was a phenomenon.
Right.
And it's incredible what that show did, what you guys did. And I don't know if we'll ever see in our lifetime another movement like that, another replication of that, like what that did. I can't fathom that happening again. It felt like truly lightning in a bottle.
Yeah, lightning in a bottle and wore it as a belt.
Yeah,
With
man.
that pants up, bro. I'm telling you.
That's the
You know?
times, man.
Yeah, the times, yeah.
It was
There has to
amazing.
be something, in order for that to happen, it would probably happen in another form of music and another kind of culture and something that's bubbling the same way and
It's
has
just
growth, you know?
it's a whole recipe that I don't even know if who knows, it might be happening right now. We don't know about it, but I don't know if anything could ever do what hip hop did from its origins. It even has the birth date, August
Right.
1973. It's got it's got
Right.
like a birthday, and it's you know what I'm saying. It's so special. And being from Brentwood, I got to kind of be a part of it in a way. Just growing up around it with EPMD and Craig Mack and JVC Force right around the way. CI next door, and
Salute to AJ Rock. He was on my show too, man.
yeah, he rocks,
Yeah.
man. He's awesome, and Be Love and all those guys.
Correct.
Yeah, and in the Long Island scene, poppin' and so many
Right.
great artists coming from here, including Wild Westbury and where your neck of the woods.
No question.
Yo, cuz, I went down to the Hempstead Terminal.
Word, cousin, man.
Yo, man, and the guards came up to me, man. You know what they said to me, cuz?
Yo, what was they kicking to you, man?
Yo, cuz, they said,
Knowledge me, oh me.
T-Money, man, this has been a true honor talking to you. I appreciate you so much for your time, my friend. The salute to you.
brother.
Yes,
No
indeed.
question.
This has been awesome. Thank you for all you've done for hip hop and bringing it to all those days of me watching you on TV and breaking all those new artists. So just tell everybody once again where they can find you, follow you, catch the T-Money show and all that
the
stuff.
T-Money. Yes, I am on YouTube currently. We're about to go to a couple more platforms, and my show is called the T-Money Podcast Joint. It is on YouTube. You can catch it at any time. Watch all 61 episodes. We've had great guests, man, from Granddaddy IU to DMC to I don't know, to Chuck D to
nice.
To Royal Flush to Master Ace to we've had it all, man. Grandmaster Caz, we've had tons of artists, man. We have football players, we have singers on our platform, we have actors, we have actors on our platform. We have a lot of people, so I've been blessed,
And I'll put the link in the info below so everybody can check it out. Just go in there and you can click on it and check out the T-Money podcast. T-Money, thanks so much, man. This has been awesome.
Brother. I appreciate you. All right, be good, man.
Thank you.
All right, talk to you soon. All right,
take care, bro.
Later.
Peace.